Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And ladies and gentlemen, good news, it is Thursday, which means Aaron Cummings is here. Aaron, how you doing?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I've missed you so much. It has been such an exciting time away, very busy, but I am thrilled to be back with you. And I also am thrilled to say a special shout out to my new friend, John, who works at the Aloft Hotel in Detroit. Tom and I were in Detroit visiting family for a wedding recently. And as we were leaving, a gentleman who works there came up to Tom and said, is she on a show? And Tom went, who do you think she is? And he said, I think she's on a show that I watch called the John Campea Show. Is that Aaron Cummings? And I said, oh my gosh. And Tom told me, he goes, go up to her, say hi. Trust me, it will make her day. She'll be thrilled. And then, of course, I had Joey with me. And I said, I was wearing a mask. So I said, did you recognize me because of Joey? And he said, no, I recognize the voice. So Jonathan, if you are watching today, thank you so much for coming up and saying hi. Please post and tag me in the picture if you haven't already. I've been off Instagram for a minute because it's been a busy travel time. But it was such a pleasure to meet you, and to all of my friends in Detroit. Great seeing you guys. Love you. But I am glad to be back home in Los Angeles.
Yes, and you're in Los Angeles. You're not in studio with me today. This is like
I am not. Friends out there watching, if you are wondering how much John knows about technology and how little Aaron knows about technology, I wish that I could have just been recording the events of the last 5 minutes, and Tom running up and down the stairs trying to get UCBA cords, UCBC, me just being like, somebody's gonna have to figure out how to do this because I am completely out of my element. I'm just here to talk.
Well, and talk we shall, because we have a bunch of things that we need to talk about here today, guys. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break the show into two parts. The first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. And in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, the way you get in a live comment or question to be read on a show or an upcoming companion video is simply using the tip link that's down in the description of this video. You can just click on it there, or you could enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll begin your comment or question read on one of the shows if it's appropriate for the show. And of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. And all of us here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys for that support. And by the way, I did mention this earlier this week, but here we are approaching the end of the week. I'll just throw it out there again. This week, I don't know if I told you about this, Aaron, but this week marks the 4-year anniversary of when I decided to leave my job and go solo on YouTube. And it has been a hell of a ride. I remember having dinner with one of my friends when I was telling them I was about to make the move. And I said, okay, my goal is I've got some money saved up. If I can make $200 a month for the first 6 months or so, I'll be happy. I'll just be happy.
Wow.
And I can use my whatever. And, I had a lot of people tell me it would never work and blah, blah, but here we are 4 years later. And I just want to say a very deep and heartfelt thank you to all of you guys who have made the last 4 years possible for us to do this. And we've been able to do more things than I ever possibly imagined. So thank you guys so much for all your support over these last 4 years and many more to come, hopefully. Okay, guys, with all that down.
Before you skate on to the next topic,
oh, sure.
I do have to interrupt before you skate on, because I know that you are not one to enjoy too much praise, but I do want to pause and say, in addition to thanking everyone out there who has made the continuation of the John Campea Show and thus my involvement in it possible, I do want to say a huge congratulations, John. Not only for maintaining the show for 4 years, a feat that most restaurants can't even do, but also just the simple fact that you took that, oftentimes, I remember when I was going to move out to Los Angeles, there were so many naysayers that thought that I should just stay in Dallas, Texas, doing commercials the rest of my life. And, so many times when we want to branch out of our comfort zone and do something that is scary to a lot of people, there will always be the naysayers that try to put their own fears on our aspirations. And I really commend you for unshackling the golden handcuffs of a traditional job and a traditional paycheck, and having the confidence in yourself and what you could bring to the world on your own to say, no, I've got this, and for taking that risk. It is something that I know right now there is someone watching this show that is probably debating whether or not they should take a big risk in their life and in their career in whatever way. And I guarantee you, your story today of saying, no, I believe in myself enough to take this leap and I'm going to make it work, and the success that you have thus had since then, I guarantee is inspiring someone watching the show right now. And as your friend of more than 10 years, I'm incredibly proud of you and just thankful to be a very small part in your glorious ride. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. And again, thank you to all you guys for all the support over the years. And now let's give you what you came here for. I was going to say something, but I've decided to totally take it back. Anyway, let's now get into at least one off the top before we get into our main topics here today. And that one off the top is this. Now, it is kind of well known around here that I do not have a high opinion of Netflix original movies. Netflix TV, my God, they do almost as good of a job as HBO. I mean, Netflix is one of the gold standards when it comes to creating shows on there. But their original movies, 9 out of 10 that they put out, are utter and complete garbage, with a few exceptions. The Irishman, for example, and there were a couple of others for sure. But one that really caught my attention that I quite enjoyed, I think it was during the pandemic, at least I can't remember exactly when I saw it, but was the Charlize Theron movie Old Guard. I really enjoyed our Old Guard, like a lot. And it's to the point that it stuns me how much I like it, because after all, it is indeed a Netflix original. And I loved it. I had such a great time with it. I thought the underlying mythology was good. They kept it subtle enough. The action was great. Charlize Theron is gold in anything. Well, I was very happy to hear, because a lot of us suspected and heard rumors that they were going to do a second one. I was very, very happy to hear that they have now greenlit, not only greenlit Old Guard 2, they now have a shooting schedule. Charlize Theron was being interviewed, and she confirmed that Old Guard will start shooting in the first quarter of 2022. So a sequel to Old Guard will be coming in the first quarter of 2022, which means it's probably about 9 months away from when they start shooting this thing. She also confirmed that all the cast is coming back. So the cast will all be back. She did confirm that, which is great, because I thought on top of Charlize Theron being so great, I thought her supporting cast was absolutely wonderful as well. So I really enjoyed them in that. So chalk me up as somebody who's really excited about this news. I mean, it's not often you'll hear me say, damn, I'm excited for a Netflix original movie, but this is one of those ones that I am. Aaron, I can't remember. Like, I know your opinion of Charlize Theron. You hold her in a really high regard. But did you ever get a chance to get around to watching Old Guard?
You know it's actually weird. I didn't see the film, but I do have an Old Guard story. The casting director of Old Guard, Aisha Cooley, she cast me many, many years ago in my first studio film, Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. And randomly, she will call me for different things. Like she had me, she was casting an Ava DuVernay film, and they needed to do some pickup shots and have an actor read off-camera lines. She called me in for that, which was incredible to get to work with Ava. But she called me in to read the off-camera lines for the auditions with Gina Prince Bythewood, the director of the film. So it was me, Miss Prince Bythewood, and Aisha Cooley, the casting director, who were doing these auditions. And so I got to actually sit in on the auditions and read opposite all of the actresses who were coming in to read for the role that Kiki Lane eventually got. And so I remember Kiki Lane's live audition reading opposite her, and she was phenomenal. And so that's my Old Guard story, which was really kind of cool, not only to be able to have a firsthand experience with the casting process, but also get to be working alongside, not alongside, obviously, she's the director, but getting to be in the room as Gina Prince Bythewood was directing these actresses. It was a pretty cool experience.
And yet you haven't watched the movie. You gotta watch the movie.
I watched the movie. I know I have this weird thing where it's like I kind of maybe there's a checklist in my brain. It's sort of like when I did Mad Men. I watched every single episode of Mad Men faithfully and obsessively numerous times. And then the second that I did my couple episodes of Mad Men, I was like, okay, check. And I've never seen the rest of season 4 or beyond. I have no idea how the series ends.
Well, the question is for you guys, what do you think about it? Now, and for the rest of you who have seen Old Guard, I'm very excited about this because I really got a big kick out of the first one. How do you guys feel about it? Do you think they need to do a second one? Are you excited? Do you not care? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And by the way, our friends Ahmed sends in a super chat badge in the live chat, as does Kenya. Kenya sends in like a $10 super chat badge in the live back. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. And our friend Nate also sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. All right, guys, listen. With that down, let's now move into our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you think we need to have as a main topic on the John Campea Show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Dave Perkins, who writes, "Hey, John. Looks like it's time to start planning the return trip to Wakanda because Kevin Feige announced that production on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has begun in Atlanta. With the film just shy of an entire year out before it hits, what kind of movie do you feel we'll be getting from Ryan Coogler and the cast?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And look, obviously, COVID aside, one of the biggest movie news stories and topics of conversation over the past year has been the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And, obviously the passing of anyone is a tragedy in and of itself, but especially when he was just coming to the height of his powers. You know what I mean? He was now the star of one of the biggest movie franchises in the world, one of the lead guys in the biggest movie franchise in the world. He was about to get an Oscar nomination. He was getting a lot of awards consideration. He was just really, he'd always been a good actor, but he was just really hitting his stride. And so within movie circles, after he passed, a lot of the conversation turned to, where does Black Panther go from here? Without our king, without Chadwick, where do we go from here? And listen, there was a lot of different points of view. Some people, like myself, believed the better thing is to recast him and to carry on for Chadwick. Other people believed the best thing to do was to CGI Chadwick into the movie. Other people believed they shouldn't do another Black Panther. And then some others believed that they should continue to do Black Panther, but just, remove the T'Challa character and make a new character Black Panther. And that's what ultimately they decided to do. We've heard about some casting announcements and things like that. It's all been good. We heard the wonderful Lupita Nyongo talk about this a few weeks ago, and we discussed her comments. But now it's happening. It's no longer theoretical. It is the tangibilization, as I call it, of the movie news. They have actually gotten on set, and they are now shooting Black Panther 2. And there's still a lot of question marks and mysteries surrounding it for us as the audience. For example, we still don't know who the new Black Panther is. Because this movie isn't just called Wakanda Forever. It's called Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Somebody's going to be Black Panther. At any rate, this comes to us from Benjamin Walker, who writes, "It's clearly very emotional without Chad." Sorry, this was Kevin Feige that said this. This comes to us from Variety. "It's clearly very emotional without Chad," Feige said before the Black Widow global fan event in Los Angeles on Tuesday night. "But everyone is also very excited to bring the world of Wakanda back to the public and back to the fans. We're going to do it in a way that would make Chad proud." And again, that's Kevin Feige talking to the folks over at Variety. Aaron, it's hard to overstate how much of a, not just impact Black Panther made in the movie world, but the cultural impact that it had. It made over $1 billion at the box office. It became the first comic book movie to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Its impact was immeasurable in many, many ways, and a big part of that was Chadwick Boseman. As we're going into Black Panther 2, what I'm expecting to see, I'm going to go out on a limb right now, and I'm going to guess that Lupita Nyong'o is going to be the new Black Panther. I have no insider information on that, but hear me out. This is why I think it's going to be Lupita Nyong'o. Number one, she is the best actor in the cast. I mean, it's Lupita Nyong'o, Academy Award winner, will have more than one Oscar sitting on her mantle by the time it's all said and done. So she's the strongest actress in the cast. On top of that, she is King T'Challa's queen. I mean, so that makes sense narratively. Also narratively, when they were going to go and try to take on M'Baku, or they were going to try to take on Michael B. Jordan, you know, T'Challa's mom wanted Nakia to take the last herb and become Black Panther and go take him out. She is a warrior. We've seen her in action. She is nobility in the tribes of Wakanda. She was able to be there. I think it was the Water Tribe that she's a part of. But anyway, narratively, action-wise, actress-wise, it all makes sense to me. Some people think it's going to be Shuri. I would also love for it to be M'Baku, but I don't think they're going to do it. So where are they going with Black Panther this one? I think it's going to be Lupita Nyong'o's Nakia. Aaron, you know, they're moving forward now, and you and I have talked about this because you have some experience with stuff like this. Obviously, you were working on Spartacus, and when the show lost Andy and Andy passed away, and the show had to make the decision to move on without Andy, and they decided to recast. But number one, what challenges, having been through that experience yourself, what challenges are they going to be facing on the set of Black Panther 2, trying to make this thing without Chadwick Boseman now there? And number two, where do you think this movie's going to go?
Well, thank you. Those are fantastic questions. Number one, you know, in the case of both Andy Whitfield and Chadwick Boseman, sadly, the world lost both of these incredible actors. And I don't know, I never met Chadwick Boseman, but from the things that we've heard about him, he sounded like just an absolutely beautiful human being, as Andy Whitfield was as well. And so both passing at the prime of their career, just as things were really starting to explode for them. The difference between their passing and the passing of someone like
Chadwick,
Bill Paxton, who died suddenly, you know, in surgery. It was not an expected thing. You know, as they were getting to the end stages of their lives, you know, Andy had the ability to share his vision for Spartacus, as I imagine that Chadwick Boseman had the ability to share his vision for the continuation of Black Panther. And just as Andy said, I do believe this story needs to live on, and I would like for you to recast the character of Spartacus. You know, I am Andy Whitfield. I am not Spartacus. In the same way, Chadwick Boseman is the actor who portrayed Black Panther. And whatever we want to say about how he is Black Panther, in the world of reality, he is the actor who portrayed Black Panther. And so I have no doubt that he had many conversations with Kevin Feige about whether or not Black Panther should continue, could continue, how he would feel about it, how his family would feel about it. And so we have to trust that there are conversations that have occurred that we are not a part of. You know, we were not sitting there in the final months of Chadwick Boseman's life to hear his thoughts. But I'm pretty sure that his thoughts were shared with Kevin Feige and the people, you know, that are involved in this film. I also, you know, the challenge I imagine that they are facing is, how do we, you know, pay tribute to this actor, this beloved actor who had such an impact in his short life, and who obviously was the central figure of this film being so successful without making it a Chadwick Boseman tribute movie, because
Right.
that's not what it is. It is the sequel to Black Panther, and that is what it should be, so that the story can move forward. As unfortunately, well, as we do, as what has to happen, we all have to move forward. That doesn't mean forget. That doesn't mean, act like it's past history, but we have to have the story moving forward. And so, I do think that there is a challenge, but in the same way that, Black Panther, I'm not going to say that people didn't have high expectations, but, in a similar way to Wonder Woman, we had not seen a film that was an almost exclusively Black cast have that kind of worldwide phenomenon success and box office numbers. And you're absolutely right. It changed everything. There was a lot of I don't even know what the term you would call for it, sales racism, I guess you would say. I mean, I had a producer sit down and actually tell me flat out, there will never be a Black-led film that can do international box office numbers because people in China don't want to watch a Black-led film. Like, I actually had a producer, shockingly, who's not really working anymore these days, say that to me. And similarly, there was a lot of feeling that like Wonder Woman would go the way of many other female-led superhero films. And there's always a rule until the rule gets broken. And then you realize that it was never actually a rule anyway. And so any preconceived notions about how well a Black would do, much less a superhero film, starring a character that wasn't already part of the zeitgeist, this broke the mold. And so I really think that the people who created the original Black Panther made such an incredible impact in the first one, and they're going to carry with them all the things that all the tools that they used for that, bringing it into the sequel to give the audience what we're looking for, and somehow, in honor of Chadwick Boseman, but allowing the story to move forward.
It's a tall order that they have to fill, and there's going to be a lot of expectations going into the second film. It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate it. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? The film is now actually shooting. It is in front of cameras. They are making this movie as we speak. Where do you see things going? You think Shuri's going to be the new Black Panther? Do you think Nakia, like I think, is going to be the new Black Panther? M'Baku, another character altogether? Which way do you think they're going to go? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Eddie Sanchez, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob." Rob's not here today, obviously. "So the Tomorrow War is released tomorrow. It literally is. It's released tomorrow. The new Chris Pratt film, which from the trailers looks like a pretty fun ride of a movie. Strangely, though, there's no giant buzz circling it, no early reviews, nothing I've been able to find or read that might give me an idea as to what to expect from it. Not even Rotten Tomato scores or anything. Could this be a sign of something in itself that this might not be a movie to look forward to? What are your thoughts? And stay filthy, my friends." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, tomorrow, this big new Chris Pratt starring sci-fi action film, The Tomorrow War, which got, dumped off on Amazon, gets its debut on Amazon. The trailers came out not long ago to some mixed reviews. I'd say they overall leaned positive. I enjoyed the trailers that we saw. They leaned positive for me at any rate. But we've heard, listen, I don't know about you guys. I can only tell you from my perspective and with the chair I'm sitting in. I have heard no buzz. I have not heard anybody excited for this, even though the trailers look pretty good. But I have not sensed any sort of anticipation or buzz online. And you're right. When I go over to Rotten Tomatoes, there are no reviews for it. None. And I have always said, when you get to within a week of a film coming out and there's no reviews available for it, that tells me one thing. Now, it's not always 100% true. It's not always 100% true, but generally speaking, when you get to under a week without there being any reviews out, it generally means this. They're hiding this movie. They're hiding it. They're not showing it to any reviewers. They're not showing it to any influencers, because if you had a good movie on your hands, you know what you do? You show it to the influencers and you show it to the critics so word can get out there and they can start saying good things about it. The only reason not to do that is to hide it. And while I am a big fan of Chris Pratt, and I love him in movies, I love the personality and the charm and charisma he brings to the roles. I'm a sucker for the sci-fi epics, humans versus aliens, bring it on all day. I got to tell you, folks, this does not bode well for this movie. Now, again, I am not saying this guarantees the movie's going to be crap. Maybe we watch it tomorrow and we go, holy God, this is like one of the best movies we've seen in years. That could happen. But right now, Aaron, I look at this and this ain't a good sign to me. I don't know. Aaron, let me ask you this. We've got this Chris Pratt movie coming out tomorrow. Have you, either for yourself or the circles you travel in, been feeling a lot of buzz and excitement for this movie? And what do you make of the fact that we haven't even gotten any reviews for this thing when this movie comes out in 24 hours?
Well, I will say, Tom and I have a friend who was the head of he was the head of marketing for one of the major studios, and he said that is actually a thing, that the studios, they only have so many dollars to go around when it comes to marketing and PR. And if they look at a film and they don't see that it is going to be something that ultimately is going to recoup their money, not just in the budget that was spent on the film, but the budget that they would be spending in PR, in marketing, why would you want to pour more money into a movie that you don't believe is actually going to recoup that investment? When we talk about the budget of the movie, and you certainly know a lot more about this than I do, having directed your own movies multiple times, you know that there's the budget for the movie itself. And then there's the whole budget for all of the for all of the marketing and the advertising, the P&R as they call it. And, that is a huge expense for a studio, for anyone who's releasing a movie. So if you don't anticipate that this movie is going to do well at the box office, your number one goal is to start saving money as much as possible. And that includes not holding screenings, not, wasting the energy of your staff to even send out a screener link to potential reviewers. The only real review that I've seen actually only came out less than an hour ago from Adam Graham at the Detroit News. And, he liked it. He gave it a B, no big deal. He wasn't thrilled about it, but he said that Chris Pratt's comedic relief sort of helps the movie along. I personally, the only interest that I have, it's not that I don't like Chris Pratt. I just, I feel like Chris Pratt has gotten to the point for me where, who's the actress? Devil Wears Prada, Anne Hathaway.
Right.
There got to a point where Anne Hathaway was everywhere, and then people started hating Anne Hathaway. We called them Hatha-haters. And then Jennifer Lawrence was everywhere, and everybody loved her. And then eventually people were like, okay, I get it. Calm down, Jennifer Lawrence. I kind of feel that way about Chris Pratt. I'm a little bit like, Chris Pratt, can you just go hang out for a minute, take your Alec Baldwin hiatus, and then come back with something to make me love you again, because I'm kind of overloaded on Chris Pratt at the moment. I will say, who I am thrilled about seeing, although I don't necessarily know if I'm going to see this movie, but I may be interested in seeing it when it comes out on Netflix or on streaming. Betty Gilpin, who I absolutely fell in love with on
From
Glow.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the blonde in Glow. She's phenomenal. And then my friend Yvonne Strahovski, who I did Astronaut Wives Club with, is also one of the stars alongside Chris Pratt in this movie. So I'm thrilled for Yvonne Strahovski. I just wish that this movie was getting more buzz for her. But yeah, it definitely is a sign. If you're not seeing ads, if you're not hearing people talking about it, especially if the Rotten Tomatoes reviewers have not seen this movie, there is a reason. So I'm going to put this one on the list of maybe one of these days if it happens to pop up on a streamer.
Well, it's coming
I
out
might
on
turn it
Amazon
on.
tomorrow. It's coming out on Amazon tomorrow. And I will
Oh,
say
is
this.
that where it's being released? See, I
Yep.
didn't even realize that.
So since we started the show, 5 reviews have come out 24 hours before it. This is not a good sign. And as of right now, although this is a little deceptive, you got to be careful because right now there are 5 reviews. 4 of them are positive. However, the highest score is a 7 out of 10. So we've got a B plus, a 2.5 out of 5, and 2 3 out of 5s. So, so we got, but 4 of them do lean positive. We'll see, but they don't sound enthusiastic. So we'll see what happens. I never really worry about the Rotten Tomatoes number until it gets to over like 30, 40, or 50 reviews. So hopefully that must mean the review embargo has been lifted today. Again, not a good sign that it's one day before. But anyway, I love Chris Pratt, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that we love this thing. Question is for you guys. Have you felt any buzz surrounding the Tomorrow War? I have not really had anybody writing into me to talk about it or ask about it, so I don't sense any buzz for it. And again, to me, it's a giant red flag when they're only letting reviews come out literally 24 hours before the movie releases. But hey, that's just me. Question is, guys, how are you feeling about it? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Connor Race, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob." Rob's obviously not here on Thursdays. "Hope you guys are doing well. News just broke that Halloween Kills is going to have its world premiere at the Venice Film Festival. This is a massive show of faith from Universal. Having loved the 2018 one, between the trailer and this news, my excitement couldn't be any higher. What are your thoughts?" All right, thanks for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, you guys know I don't like any Halloween film. None of them. Not even the original. Break out your pitchforks. I don't care. I don't think the original holds up. There, I said it. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but that's okay. And I have not liked any of the Halloween films. And so I wasn't really looking forward to Halloween that was going to obviously star Jamie Lee Curtis that came out in 2018. And then the trailer started to drop for it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't like Halloween movies. I got to give it its due. These trailers are pretty damn good. And so I went to go see the movie and I loved it. I loved it. I love that Halloween film. I had a great time with it. It's my favorite Halloween film of all time. I thought it was really fun. Of course, now, although it's been delayed because of the COVID pandemic, we are now, of course, getting it here in a couple of months. But it was announced that they're actually going to debut this thing at the Venice Film Festival at the same time that the Venice Film Festival is going to be bestowing their Lifetime Achievement Award, the Golden Lion, on Jamie Lee Curtis this year, which is pretty awesome. This comes to us from the folks over at Deadline who write, "The 78th Venice Film Festival will this year award a Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement to American actress Jamie Lee Curtis. The ceremony will take place on September 8th at the Sala Grande before the out-of-competition world premiere screening of David Gordon Green's Halloween Kills. Venice runs September 1st through 11th on the Lido. Halloween Kills is the follow-up to 2018's Halloween, which saw Curtis reprise her iconic role as Laurie Strode and took over $250 million worldwide to become the highest grossing chapter in the 4-decade franchise." Now listen, I will always be a massive Jamie Lee Curtis fan, but it's not because of Halloween stuff. She's actually also the star of my all-time favorite action film, which is True Lies, that she did with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is my all-time favorite action film. So I love her dearly. Hey, listen, just because, Aaron, I know that just because this thing's playing at Venice, that doesn't automatically mean the movie's great. We know that. But to take a movie like Halloween Kills to a Venice Film Festival, which has notoriously brutal audiences, to me, it seems a little bit like a vote of confidence in the film. I like what I'm seeing here. What do you make of this?
This is how you market a movie. Is you have your movie and you go, okay, how can we get this out there? Not only in a way that says we want to make sure that everyone hears about this movie, we want to make sure that everyone knows about this movie, but also we want to make sure that everyone knows this is a movie worth watching, even if you are not a fan of the genre. It's not like this movie is premiering at, at a midnight screening at the Toronto Film Festival, which is notorious for having, genre films premiering at midnight, aka bitch slap. But also had to just throw
I
that
remember
little one in
that.
there. But you're absolutely right. This film festival, it is one of the most respected film festivals in the world. It is one of the most anticipated film festivals in the world. It is certainly a film festival that many successful films have emerged from. And the fact that this is a movie that is part of, it is something that if you had seen Halloween 3, for example, the idea that someone from the future would come back and say, hey, just so you know, one of these days, a Halloween film is going to be in the Venice Film Festival for its premiere. It would be crazy. That's like saying that one day Fast and the Furious will premiere at a Venice Film Festival. It just doesn't seem to make sense. But as we saw from the 2018 Halloween film, this isn't just a genre movie for people who, like to get scared while munching their popcorn. I don't like scary movies. I can only watch scary movies in a theater with people that I know and trust in front of me, on all sides of me, and behind me. Why? Because I am a scaredy cat and I will not watch them at home, because then I will be convinced that someone is in my house trying to murder me. So for me to actually even watch Halloween, and not only have I watched it once, I've watched it multiple times. Why? Because the story is great. You guys know that I am always all about the story. If there's no story, there's nothing to the film. The acting is phenomenal. It also speaks volumes that so many people from the original cast are back, in addition to Jamie Lee Curtis, who I love. And come on, John, let's be real. Jamie Lee Curtis, your favorite movie of hers is Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan. Admit it.
I do have something to admit about that movie. I've never seen it. I never watched that one. No,
it's okay.
I never watched that one.
But, not only do we have Jamie Lee Curtis, we also have the phenomenal Judy Greer, who is great in everything she does, even if it's her voiceover on Archer. We have Omar Dorsey, who's coming back as the sheriff, for a role that wasn't even, that large of a role in Halloween. He really made an impact in that film. We have some incredible talent, a fantastic story. Jamie Lee Curtis, again, she's breaking the rules. Everybody else, there was also the quote rule saying no one's going to want to watch a movie starring, especially an action movie or a horror movie starring a woman in her 60s. And then Jamie Lee Curtis comes in along with Linda Hamilton banging down doors with her machine gun. You have these women that are coming in and kicking ass, taking names in their 60s, saying, hey, guess what? That's not a rule anymore. So let's do it again. I think it, like you said, it really speaks volumes for how the studio feels about this movie. And I think it's also a good move on the part of the Venice Film Festival, because they are also emerging out of this COVID period that a lot of people, that we all are emerging out of. And what's going to convince people to go to the festival? What's going to convince people to say, hey, of all the festivals that I have to go to this year, we're a little weary from traveling. It's hard to reemerge back into our old lives. If we're going to choose what film festivals that we're going to, and when I say we, I mean, I don't even necessarily mean myself. I mean people who are, for their job or for their interest are going to be going to film festivals. How do you choose which ones to go to? This would certainly make the Venice Film Festival, if I were a festival hopper, this would certainly move that to the top of my list. I would certainly be more excited and interested in going to that festival and maybe spending my money there versus maybe going to Cannes or to Toronto or, to Sundance or one of the other ones. If I only had one to choose, that would be a pretty cool one to go to, because clearly they are going to be doing some really fun stuff. And just the simple fact that they're willing to break out of what is sometimes considered a stuffy mold. the fact that they're willing to branch out into something as interesting and as exciting as a horror film from a franchise. I say kudos to everyone involved. That's a great move.
And like you said, it's a great show of confidence from the studio as well, which speaks volumes to the audience. Question is for you guys. Are you even looking forward to Halloween Kills? I am. I know, Robert didn't like the last one. I totally did. I know a lot of you guys did. Some of you didn't. What do you think about this? I'm taking you to Venice Film Festival. A vote of confidence doesn't mean nothing. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. By the way, our friend Skylar Hillman sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Skylar. Appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, let's go into main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Calum Fouts, who writes, "Hi, John and Aaron. A first teaser sizzle, if that's what we call it, of the currently in production Flash movie just came out online. There's no live footage in it, but it has a lot of the production art. And man, you were right when you said Batman was going to be in more of it than we thought." Well, I didn't say that. Somebody told me that. Let's just be clear. Because he was in almost every single image. Have you had a chance to see it? And what did you think? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. Now, look, a little bit of background on this. So the Flash movie has been kind of a running joke for the last 5 years, or almost 5 years. This is something that was supposed to originally have been out and in theaters years ago. It went through like 4 different sets of directors, several different sets of writers, a lot of behind the scenes drama and conflict and things coming and going, but they finally got it up and running. They got a terrific director involved here with Andy Muschietti, so that really is working in its favor. They announced that Michael Keaton was coming in. Now, for a long time, I said that although I had no insider information, I just said, as a fan, I speculate that I don't think Michael Keaton's going to be in much of this movie at all. I think he's going to be like a couple of quick little cameos, maybe even just one quick cameo. It'll make a big impact on the movie, but obviously he's not going to be in it a lot. He's not going to be in it much. I said that for a good year, that I really believed he was going to be in a very, very small amount of the movie. Well, then a couple of weeks ago, you guys who watch the show regularly remember that after saying that on the show one day, I had somebody connected with the production of this movie get a hold of me. And if you guys remember the quote, they said, "Actually, John, you're wrong. He's in a lot of this film." And the quote that he gave me was, what was it again? "He's in it as much as Sean Connery was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade." And of course, Sean Connery was in a lot of that movie, like a lot of that movie. And so that's kind of the background and the context. So now this video comes out that purportedly, I don't know what the truth of it is, but they purport that this video that came out, this little video click came out that is supposed to be a working copy of a sizzle they want to show at the next DC fandom. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But within this little sizzle reel, it's just a bunch of concept art and production art that they showed. And in showing this production art, it really does drive home what that producer told me when she said he's in as much of this thing as Sean Connery was in The Last Crusade. Because Batman is almost in every single shot of the thing they showed. So this is one of the pieces of art. I think this is one piece of concept art we might have seen before. Maybe I'm wrong. But I believe this is from a piece of concept art, this one that we have seen before. But again, this was one of the pieces that they showed. It's got Batman in it. Then another one that they showed was Batman driving the Batmobile very clearly with Michael Keaton's symbol. Obviously, they drew him as Michael Keaton. And what you don't see in this image is in the back seat, Ezra Miller's in the back seat with a secret character that they have this yellow spoiler alert sign in front of their face. So in the back seat of the Batmobile is Ezra Miller with a secret spoiler character. So it's in that. But then it goes on, like another production image comes up in some kind of, I don't know if this is in a cell in the Batcave or something, but back there in the corner you see Batman's in this one again, with, again, another character with the spoiler alert image over their face. So that's something for us to keep in mind as well. It wasn't just Batman. We also got some of the production art of the new Supergirl that's going to be in it as well. By the way, I know there was some discussion about the costume. I like the costume on the new Supergirl, personally. Very consistent with the Henry Cavill costume. I like it a lot. I think she's going to look great in this thing. So, yeah, going back that discussion that we had a couple weeks ago when I got set straight that, nope, John, listen to me. She said, Michael Keaton's going to be in a lot of this movie, at least as much as Sean Connery was in Last Crusade, which stunned me. I'm not going to lie. It stunned me. I have not expected him to be in much, but now these images come out and it seems to confirm to me that statement was correct. Batman's in a lot of this movie. Anyway, Aaron, you had a chance to see, a bunch of these images as well. We've heard and talked about and followed the drama about, is Michael Keaton going to be in or not? Obviously he is. They're shooting this movie right now. What did you think about the images, and how much Michael Keaton do you expect that we're going to see in this thing as his old-time Batman?
I'm trying to figure out how much I can actually say.
Uh-oh.
I'm surprised that you and I didn't talk about this off camera. One of my really good friends is very highly involved in the film. And so I've known for like a year that Michael Keaton was going to be in the movie. And like, I feel like we should have talked about this, but I also have like serious memory issues though. So I don't know. Yeah, he not only is he in the movie and in the movie a considerable amount, there's some really, there's a lot of people in this movie that.
Oh God, how have you and I not had this conversation? What?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Aaron, you get information. Who else do you know that you should have this conversation with other than Tom? Who else wants to hear this stuff more than me? I mean, other than Tom, of course.
I know, but I don't know. It's sort of one of those things where people tell me things and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I bet John would love to hear about that. And then I'm like, la, 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 oh, look, a bird. And I just get distracted. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's one of the reasons why people, I think, trust me with things is because I kind of forget about them as soon as they tell me. They're like, don't tell anybody. And then I immediately, it farts out of my brain. And I'm like, okay, cool. That was easy. And then a year later, I'm like, oh, yeah. So, I'm really excited about this. I'm such a Michael Keaton fan. In fact, I do have a little Michael Keaton story, if I can. It was the day of the Oscars when he was nominated for Birdman. And I was on my way to our annual Oscar party. We have this very small group of like 3 of us that have been watching the Oscars together every year for like 15 years. And I stopped by Bristol to pick up a few snacks for the party. And as I'm in Bristol Farms, there's a limo parked outside, or like not a limo, but like a black town car. And Michael Keaton is in the line at Bristol Farms, like right in front of me. And I'm thinking, dude, aren't you supposed to be on the red carpet in 5 minutes? I was just like, what, Michael Keaton, what are you doing? Go to the Oscars. Why are you hanging out at Bristol Farms on the day of the Oscars? It was so random. And so like, I didn't want to just go up to him and be like, oh my God, Batman, I love you. So I just sort of tried to be chill. And then the second that he kind of randomly turned and we made eye contact, I just went, I hope you win. And then I looked back down again. Like, I don't want to freak you out, but I really hope you win. And he just smiled and goes, thanks. And then he was, and I was just like, okay, bye, Michael Keaton. Have fun at the Oscars. But it's just like, who does that? It's like Hilary Swank going to Astro Burger and, eating a burger after her Academy Award win. But at least she waited until after. Like, what was so important that you had to go to Bristol Farms right before you go to the red carpet of the Oscars? So random, but that's what it's like when you live in Los Angeles, guys. But yes, I'm very excited. Back to the actual topic we're talking about. I'm very excited about this movie. Clearly I need to get better at sharing my spoilers with you a year in advance. Not only is Michael Keaton going to be in this movie, from what I know, a considerable amount, but also we're going to have some other fun surprises coming along. That's all I'll say.
See, right now, everybody wants me so badly to press you on this, but I am not because I don't want you to get in any trouble. But anyway, guys, the question is for you. We heard it a couple weeks ago that this movie was going to have a lot of Michael Keaton. The images that are coming out now seem to support that because almost every single one of them had Batman in it. Question is for you guys. What do you think about that? How much do you think we're going to see Michael Keaton in this movie? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with all that down, let's now go over and start taking your live comments and questions, shall we? Once again, if you want to get a live comment or question on the show or an upcoming companion video, simply use the tip link that's down in the description of this video, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on one of the shows, if, of course, they're appropriate for the show. And, of course, you're supporting the channel at the same time, and we all thank you guys so much for that support. Okay, let's get on over and start taking those questions, shall we? And we're going to get things kicked off here with a variant of John Campea, who writes, "Hey, John and Co. I just saw the comedy Game Night. I love Game Night. And absolutely loved it. Oh, watched your review of it too, starting my master's in finance soon, and was watching comedies to distract me from all the stress associated with it. Game Night looked to me, and by the way, the guys who directed Game Night were supposed to direct the Flash movie until Ezra Miller got into a big thing with them, and he didn't want to use their script, and they got into a fight, and Warner Brothers intervened, and then finally the guys who directed Game Night said, we've had enough of this BS, we're out, and they left, which sucked, because I really was very interested in seeing their movie, but they got Andy Muschietti in there, which is great. But Game Night is fantastic. It was such a pleasant little comedy. Who's the name of the guy who played the cop next door? What's the name of that actor again? I
don't know, but I'm sure the chat will let us know any second now.
Yeah, guys,
who played the cop next door?
The guy who played the next door neighbor cop, and he's in the trailer for Jungle Cruise with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He plays the Nazi in the Nazi sub in Jungle Cruise.
Yes, and he was in
Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons.
Yes, Jesse Plemons. He was in my favorite episodes of Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah, everybody talks about him from Black Mirror. By the way, so James Argenta, Yellow Flash, Harvey, Black Star fan, Neva Williams, all sending in the names. So thank you for letting. Yeah, Jesse Plemons playing the next door neighbor cop. It was so freaking good.
And what's also crazy that I didn't connect before is also in Game Night is one of Tom's best friend, Billy Magnuson, who was one of our groomsmen. And Billy Magnuson and Jesse Plemons were also in the same episode of Black Mirror together. So they have this sort of weird thing where they keep doing movies, or not weird. People work together all the time. But yeah, I don't know why that was weird.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up, Lewis Gordon writes, 1 of 4. Hi, John from the UK. Been a fan since the announcement of Ben Affleck's Batman. That was a great day. That day, me and John Schnepp got online like minutes after they made the announcement. And while the whole world was laughing at the announcement of Ben Affleck playing Batman, John Schnepp and I got online and said, this is bloody brilliant. You wait and see. And it turned out to be bloody brilliant. Anyway, that was a good day. I'm glad you found us on that day. Watched you every day since. First time being able to finally tip, though. Well, thank you so much for that, Lewis. I appreciate that. Went to see A Quiet Place 2 when it came out a while ago. I loved it. Well, we don't seem to have a part 2. So where did the rest of your thing go, Lewis? Lewis didn't get in the rest of it. He got cut off. Well, anyway, yes, Quiet Place Part 2. I absolutely loved it as well. I think I might actually like it even more than the first one. And the first one was my #1 favorite film of 2018. So that says a lot that I liked it. I think I like the second one even more. So I'm glad you liked it, Lewis. And hopefully we'll find those other ones that didn't quite make it through. All right, next up. Where are we at here? That was Lewis. Next up, BK Dan writes, John, you keep saying Cinemark when 4DX is mentioned. 4DC is only in Regal theaters, not bought. Wait, what? Okay, so I think what BK Dan is saying is that 4DX is a Regal thing, not a Cinemark thing. I don't know if that's. I thought 4DX was a Cinemark thing. You guys in the live chat, can you confirm, is 4DX Cinemark or Regal? Because again, I don't go to any Regal theaters either because I don't have any Regal theaters right around me. So I haven't been in either of them. But if you guys know, please jump down into the live chat and let me know, because I have been saying 4DX is a Cinemark thing. But no, guys, I've got that. Gus guy is saying 4DX is Regal. AJ is saying Regal. But Saucer Guitar and Matthew are saying Cinemark. Prince Entertainment is saying Regal. Greg is saying Regal. Max is saying Cinemark. So you guys don't even know? Okay. Alan Schroeder is saying Cinemark is XD. Regal is 4DX. Okay. Well, either way... I have never been to a 4DX theater. Whichever theater chain carries it, Cinemark or Regal, I haven't been in either. But as soon as I have an experience in one of those, I'll let you guys know. All right, next up, we got Murray Reich, who writes, one of two. I saw Fast 9, and all I can say is that the best part of the movie was the mid-credit scene. Yeah, that probably was the best part of the movie. Otherwise, the movie should be called Looney Tunes because nobody gets hurt. The whole space sequence was just... well, stupid. There's no stakes. I enjoyed it partially for being cheesy, dumb fun action, but it's just gotten way overboard. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Palpatine showed up and is Dom's great-grandfather, and because of that, he's family. Who wrote this crap? Plus, Han's resurrection explanation was BS. Come on, people. Murray, you're preaching to the choir, my brother. You're preaching to the choir. I was so excited for Fast 9. I was so stoked. I went to go see it over a month ago. We were all giddy. We made an event out of it. We went out to dinner first, and we're going in to see Fast 9. So bad. It's so bad. And I know some of you guys have enjoyed it. And if you did, awesome. That's great. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. But yeah, for me, it was total garbage, Murray. So you and I are on the same page, my friend. All right, Glenn writes, hey, John. Why are you guys so fixated on Amazon Fire Stick, Roku, etc., when all new smart TVs sold nowadays have all the major apps built in? You even predict Disney will have their own thing, but wouldn't they be phased out soon when people upgrade their TVs? Well, here's the thing about that. And Aaron, I'd be interested to ask you this. What do you and Tom use to stream at home? Do you have a Chromecast, a Roku, an Amazon Fire Stick? Do you just use a smart TV? What do you guys use?
So in the living room, we have a smart TV, and in the kitchen, which is really where we do most of our TV watching, whether we're cooking or we're eating, which seems to be what we do pretty much all day, every day, is just cook and eat and clean and then get ready to prepare the next meal. Because our whole lives revolve around food, clearly. We use an Apple like an Apple TV box on top of because that's an older television. It's an older, smaller television. So we use an Apple. But I've heard that the Fire Stick is, I don't know anything about the Roku or the Fire Stick. I've heard that they're both great.
Yeah, they're the most popular ones. Listen, every TV I own is a smart TV. The one I have in here, the one I have in my backyard, the one in my bedroom, and the one in our living room. They're all smart TVs. But I attach a device to all of them because for a couple of reasons. One, they're slow. All right. They don't have the best processors and they're not built specifically for that. And so my smart TV usage is found when I'm using the streaming apps on them. It's a bit slow and it's a bit clunky. It's not like a dedicated device that is purely made for that. Secondly, the user interface is always better. Whether it's Amazon Fire, Apple TV Plus, a Roku, a Google Chromecast, whatever, the actual user interface that you actually engage with is always vastly superior than it is on a smart TV. With the exception...
then can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know everybody hates when I interrupt you. Thank you so much for saying that, because the other reason why I watch more television in the kitchen is because I don't really know how to use the smart TV. Like it just takes forever to find what I'm looking for. I'm like, where is this? Why can't I find, and then Tom's like, oh, we can't get that on the blah, 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 because that app's not installed. And I'm just like, why is it so difficult? I just want to watch a rerun of Family Guy. Like, this is not, I'm not trying to, this isn't rocket science here. I'm just trying to zone out for a minute. I don't want to zone out by then having to figure out a whole new interface. So yeah, like, thank you for saying that, because I was really feeling kind of stupid, but they don't make it as user friendly as the Apple TV.
At
Apple
all.
TV, it's just like, what do you want? Oh, you don't know what you want? Here's what you want. Go watch it.
And then it's quick and it's snappy. But that's the other problem you brought up, is that most of the smart TVs do not have access to all the apps you may want. I mean, yeah, you'll get YouTube and Netflix and probably a lot of the major ones. But listen, I've got like over 40 or 50 apps on my living room Google Chromecast, and I use them all. So it doesn't give you the choice. It doesn't operate nearly as smoothly. It does not have a good user interface. It's just not a good experience. And so until that changes, a dedicated streaming device will always be better. But anyway, it's a good thing to bring up, Glenn. I'm glad that you did. All right, next up. Ryan Lohner writes, one neat bit from Cruella, that old movie she was watching that inspires her laugh, is actually starring Betty Lou Gerson. Really? The original Cruella. A great way. For those listening to the podcast version, let me read that again, because this is kind of neat. One neat bit from Cruella, that old movie that she's watching that inspires her laugh, is actually starring Betty Lou Gerson, the original Cruella. A great way to give her cameo after her death. I had no idea about that. That is an awesome bit of trivia. That is so cool. I had no idea about that. That is really, now when I watch that again, I'm going to go look for that moment. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that. That's great. All right. Next up, Chicken Powder writes, went down a rabbit hole for a couple of hours after your recommendation on Screen Rant's pitch meeting videos. I know how you feel about Game of Thrones Season 8, but have you seen the pitch meeting for that? It may change your mind because their explanation was tight. Yeah, I think I got you into watching one or two of these pitch meeting videos, did I not?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, they're so good. But here's the great thing about them. They absolutely eviscerate movies and TV shows. Like the one they just did for Fast 9 is awesome. But I even love watching those pitch videos when they're to movies that I love, because it's all done in fun. It's all done in fun. So even movies I completely love, I love watching the pitch meetings on them because he just slaughters them. And he brings up great points, and it's all in fun. And yeah, so obviously his Game of Thrones Season 8 one, brutal. Totally brutal. And it's hilarious and it's great. It doesn't change the fact that, it is the most awarded season of television in the history of television, and that I thought Season 8 was amazing, despite the fact that it was a total joke that it had so few episodes in it. They should have stretched it out longer. That being said, I still thought it was fantastic. It won all the awards. But no, I love his Game of Thrones stuff. I love his stuff on all my favorite movies. It's really great fun. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people go, oh, he made fun of my favorite movie, and people like kind of get pissy at him but it's like, guys, come on. It's in fun. It's great. It's hilarious. We get to laugh at it. I think it's really good stuff. If you guys haven't watched the pitch meeting stuff, go online and find them, because they're really, really good. I enjoyed them a great deal. All right.
And if it's your favorite movie, then the fact that he's even, paying tribute to it, which is really what it is, that should bring you even more joy. I love to see things that I really love have, get the fun poked at them every once in a while. I mean, what is it going to do? Is it going to change the fact that you love the movie? No, he's not saying this is a terrible movie, no one should ever watch it. He's saying, oh, here are some really weird eccentricities about this film that you love, and maybe a little, an Easter here or there that you see, and we're just going to have a fun low. I think that it's really enjoyable, and I'm glad you introduced me to it. Thank you.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. All right, next up, we have an anonymous viewer who writes, hey, John, about a week ago, hashtag Aragon remake was trending due to fans wanting an adaptation for Disney+. I think it could do very well. No, it won't. I think it could do very well being a family-friendly fantasy story based on the best-selling series. What are the chances we ever see this made? Well, ever? Ever's a long time. So let's take ever out of it. Let's talk about an eternity in Hollywood years, which is 5 years. I don't see it happening. I mean, there is such a stench of failure on that name right now. There's such a stench of failure on it That movie was so bad. Now, I never read the book. I don't care about the book, so whatever. So if I was a big fan of the book, maybe I would get the idea of, I want to see a better movie done of that. I kind of get that. But man, that first one was so terrible. They had it all planned out. They were going to do the trilogy. They even ended the first one on that big cliffhanger that was supposed to lead right into the second. But, you know, as Michael Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And Aragon got punched in the mouth. And I just don't see anybody else wanting to touch it for a while. Now, again, when you use the words ever, give enough time pass, who knows what can happen. But in the immediate future, I don't see it happening, but you never know. Everybody with all the streaming services out right now, everybody's kind of trying to get as much content as they possibly can. All right, next up, we got Chuck the Mystery who writes, "Hey, John, one of two. You often say The Godfather is arguably the greatest film ever made. Have you or Rob ever seen The Complete Epic, which chronologically edits parts 1 and 2 together to make a 9-hour film? This was never released on physical media or streaming, but it used to air on cable, and I found a VHS box set of it years ago. I think it's truly the best way to get the full Godfather experience, and I really wish it would get a streaming release so that more people could see it. Your thoughts? Thanks." No, I am aware of it. But I never have, nor will I ever watch it. I have no interest in watching that. Francis Ford Coppola put those movies together in utter perfection, the way they are. And so I'm not saying other people shouldn't be interested in it, and I'm not saying other people shouldn't watch it and enjoy it if you want to. That's great. That's awesome. I'm just saying for me, he brought utter perfection to it. You don't mess with it. It's not just the story that's being told, is the order in which it was told, how it unfolds. It's already perfect. So I'm personally not really interested in watching that myself, to be honest with you, because it's already perfect. But if you watch it and like it, that's awesome. All right, next up.
But also if I understand what he was saying correctly, they weren't just connected, ending of one to beginning of another. They were actually edited together. Is that right?
That's what it sounds like. What he's saying is that they would take a scene from 2 and move it after a particular scene from 1 and then tell it in a chronological order.
Okay, so that it's not The Godfather, because the reality is that the movie is not the stuff that was shot. The movie is also the choreography of how it was edited together. You know, the saying is, editing is the final rewrite. And so the idea that someone else who was not a part of the original team of The Godfather would then come in and do their own edit on it, piecing things in the order that they want to show them. You know, there is a flow to a movie, and that is part of what
absolutely
creates yeah. So first of all, as you and I discussed on the phone last night, there's really nothing that I would ever want to do for 9 hours consecutively. I can't think of a single thing that I would want to do for 9 hours except sleep.
And we won't tell people what it was specifically we were talking about when you brought that up. Yes. So
exactly.
Please continue.
But more to the point, as you were saying, you know, it was directed and edited to perfection in the way that Coppola wanted to present it to the world. You know, we can do that with anything. I mean, I'm sure that if we gave Robert Meyer Burnett, who is a fantastic editor, if we gave him all 9 films of Fast and the Furious, he could edit those together too. However, would they have the brilliance of the originals? I dare say no.
Yeah, I think not. All right, a good point. Next up, Chris G writes, "Hey, John, I wanted to thank you for inspiring me to take the jump instead of wondering if the water is cold. Last week, I did my first stand-up set." Dude, that's ballsy. I did my first stand-up set and shot and edited a short film. That shit is harder than expected, but I am going to keep going. Chris, first, that is great. Listen, again, Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, which is absolutely true. My favorite Bible story, I don't know if you ever heard me tell this, Aaron, but my favorite Bible story is the story of Peter and the boat. And this is always used as a story, as an illustration of failure. To me, why this is my favorite Bible story is because to me, it's the greatest story of success. So the way the story goes in the Bible, for those of you who don't know it, so Jesus and all the disciples get in a boat, right? He gets them all into a boat. He doesn't even tell them why. He's just, let's get in a boat and let's start sailing out. So they sail out and they all fall asleep. And when they wake up, there's this huge storm, right? And they're all afraid they're going to drown. And then they look out, as the story goes, and they say, Jesus, stand on the water. And Jesus is saying, come on out and walk on the water with me, right? And nobody wants to get out of the boat except one guy, Peter. So Peter, he tries to get out of the boat and walk towards Jesus, right? So he gets out of the boat. He actually takes a step and then he takes another step. But then the Bible says Peter saw all the storm and he got scared and then he sunk in the water. And then they pulled him into the boat. So everybody tells that story about, oh, the failure of Peter, the failure of Peter. And in my head, fuck that. Peter was the only guy who had the balls to get out of the fucking boat and step on the water and take a couple steps. Because guess what? Maybe he got embarrassed by sinking in the water, but he's the only damn guy who can ever say, I walked on water, kids. Like, to me, and that's what I love. And so that's a story I like to tell when people are asking me about wanting to try something, you know, and we all have this fear of failure. We all have it, but and if you get out of the boat, you may sink. Yes, you might sink. You might get wet. You might get embarrassed, but you also might walk on water. You just might walk on water. Because whatever happened for the rest of Peter's life, he will go down as the only other guy who walked on water. And that, to me, is amazing. So good on you, Chris, for doing stand-up, because that is something, Aaron, that's something I have never had the testicular fortitude to do. I can get up on a stage and talk in front of 10,000 people, and I have. I mean, that's no big deal to me, easy. But to try to do stand-up, I would never have the guts to do that. How guys like Mark Ellis do it, I have no idea. Now, as a performer, have you ever gotten up and done stand-up yourself? Because I know you have to do a lot of stuff as a performer.
So I will say this, you know, I mentioned Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins earlier in the show. And, you know, after I did Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, my part was cut. You don't have to look for it. I've had this realization that, wow, you know, I just did this movie and I got to meet and work with these greats in the world of stand-up, you know, Martin Lawrence, Monique, Mike Epps, like people who really have excelled in this form of performance that I've never even attempted. And so I actually, when I got back to LA, we were shooting in Shreveport. When I got back to LA, I actually took a stand-up comedy course that helps you go from I am terrified to get in to speak in front of people, and you write an entire stand-up set, and then at the end of the course you perform it in front of, you know, for like a friends and family, a very warm, loving environment. And I did my set, and then there was a scout from the Comedy Store who came up to a couple of us afterwards and said, would you like to come? And so I did my set at the Comedy Store. I invited everyone that I knew. And when you bring a lot of people, you get to choose your place that you want to perform. So I was like, all right, I'll go like fifth. That way there'll be a nice warm up, and then I'll go. It went great. And so I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Stand-up's the easiest thing in the world. So then they invited me to come back again. And this time I didn't really invite anybody. I invited like one person. And so in a lineup of 24 comedians, I'm not exaggerating, 24 comedians, I was number 22. And by the time I got on stage, everyone had either left or was like past drunk, where they were in like heckling, I'm pissed off and tired phase. And because I thought it was so easy, I hadn't bothered to really like memorize my set and work on my set and rehearse it. And I bombed so hard. And it was it was literally like being on stage for 5 minutes, having just like cats scratch out my eyeballs. It was so painful. And I just said, you know what? I have a deep amount of respect for the people who can do this over and over and over again. This is not my wheelhouse, but I really admire it. Recently, I decided to step out of my comfort zone because my greatest fear, even more so than stand-up, because at least stand-up is written and rehearsed, is improv. So during quarantine, I decided to follow in my husband Tom's footsteps and take some online courses at Upright Citizens Brigade. I'm currently taking the 3rd level improv class, 301 at Upright Citizens Brigade. And because of that, I think that it sort of sent this message to the universe, and that's how I ended up getting the role on Good Girls, my first, my first comedy in a very, very long time. And then it got canceled. Oh well. But yes, I do think that getting out there doing stand up is such a huge feat. I mean, talk about walking on water. You are literally out there without a rope, without a net. And congratulations and kudos to you, man.
That's great. All right. Next up, thanks for sharing that, dude. Next up, we've got Ben Rayner. Ben Rayner writes, hi, John. Happy Tuesday. I just watched the Clifford the Red Dog trailer and I found it nice and charming, kind of like a Paddington. Took me back to reading those books as a kid. What are your thoughts? I thought it was all right. Like, yeah, I thought to be honest with you, I remember covering this story that they were making this movie. I think I was still back on Movie Talk when we first talked about this movie was going to get made, if I'm remembering properly. And the trailer came out. It was fun. I mean, it was nice. It's a charming little trailer. Nothing that really catches my attention though. Like, it didn't make me excited to see it, but it was a charming little trailer. Let's see if we get more coming out. Have you seen the trailer for Clifford yet?
I have not.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised too, because I almost didn't see it myself either. So, but let's see how it turns out, Ben. Let's see how it turns out. By the way, our friend DJ Taterskin sends in like a $20 super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate the support, man, very much. And I like that badge you put in there too. I like that. Okay, the sock writes, I'm sorry. Did the writers for Hobbs and Shaw take the Captain America joke about Hobbs literally? Because that son of a bitch was not only holding, but then pulling a helicopter. I can't remember. I don't know what the reference is. It's been a while. It's been a bit since I've seen Hobbs and Shaw. So I cannot remember the connection there for that. But I do remember, I won't say who, but I went to see the first time I saw Captain America Winter Soldier. No, sorry. Was it Winter Soldier or Civil War? Which one was it where Cap is holding onto the building and holding on to, it was Civil War, right? Yes, Civil War. So where Chris Evans is holding onto the building and holding onto the helicopter at the same time, and he's got the sleeves all rolled up and his biceps are bulging. I'm not going to say who, and it wasn't Aaron for people who might think I'm talking about Aaron. But I went with an actress. There was Anne wasn't available to go. So we got this some person I know, and she came with me. This actress came. Again, I'm not going to mention who. And we're watching this movie and having a good time. And when that scene happened, where Chris Evans is holding on to the helicopter and holding on to the building and his arms are bulging, I looked over at my friend and she literally had flattened the bag from popcorn and which like threw herself back in the seat and was like just like literally, and she wasn't doing it for show either. She wasn't doing it for show. Like I thought she was physically going to melt. As Evans was doing that. You might. I don't want to say anything about that though. Anyway, okay, let's move on here.
Yeah.
TK writes, hey John, love the show. Thank you so much, TK. Keep up the good work, and thanks for having such a positive show, even when complaining about Disney. Yeah, I'm done complaining about Disneyland. I'm done complaining about, everybody knows the thing. I'm just not going to go back to Disneyland ever again, but that's okay. Whatever. I still love their movie division. The movie division's great. Their parks division, not so much. Thanks for that, TK. All right. Tebow writes, you might have missed this on Friday, but Warner Brothers delayed Dune 3 weeks to October 22nd, since it was sandwiched between Venom 2 and Bond 10. I think this was a better release date for the movie. What say you and Rob? Well, yeah, like I remember, first of all, obviously Dune has been bumped around a lot because of the pandemic. So I saw headlines the other day saying Dune postponed again. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Really? So now it's going to come out what, like March of 2022? It got bumped like 3 weeks. It got bumped a couple of weeks. No big deal. I personally didn't think it was going to have a problem at all where it was sitting, because now, how's this, Aaron? We were talking about this yesterday. Now, we have on that date, I believe it's October 22nd, we have movies from Wes Anderson, Denis Villeneuve, and Edgar Wright all coming out on the same day. We got The French Dispatch, wow, Dune, and Last Night in Soho, all coming out on the same day, which makes it a movie lover's dream day. Like that's, Rob and I were saying we're probably going to do a triple feature on that day. And by the way, Brett Brooks sends in a super chat badge. Let me ask you this, Aaron. That day comes. Which is the first movie you're going to go see on that day? Are you going to go see Dune first? Are you going to see The French Dispatch first? Or are you going to see Last Night in Soho first? Which is the first one you want to go see?
You know, I think that if Tom has his druthers, we will probably go see Dune. He's been looking forward to seeing that for a very, very long time, as have we all. So, but yeah, I don't think anything. It's one thing when a movie gets pushed because they go, oh, there's issues and they have to do some reshoots and blah blah blah. That's concerning. A movie like Dune that has been ready to go for so long, and obviously with the challenges of the past year and a half. There's been a lot of shuffling for a lot of movies. I don't think that says anything specifically about the movie or should raise any red flags. Really, they're just trying to figure out how can we maximize our P&R and our campaign so that we don't get buried by other films that are coming out. And that's a good weekend, to have a film that has so much following, so many people excited to see it alongside some, I would say, more art house type film, more specific. Wes Anderson has a very specific following of people who enjoy his movies, not necessarily for everyone, but certainly for people who are fans of Wes Anderson. So I think it's a great weekend.
All right, next up, we got Anton Riley who writes, I know that it's been some weeks since it was announced, but ABC has greenlit a Wonder Years reboot that is about a black family. I don't know if you ever watched Wonder Years, but I've watched a couple of episodes on Hulu. Are you excited at all for this? No, not even remotely, because I never watched Wonder Years. I've never even thought it looked like a show I would enjoy. So again, don't get mad at me. I'm not saying Wonder Years sucks. I've never seen it. Okay. So I'm not dissing your favorite show, kids. I never watched Wonder Years. It just never looked like it appealed to me. So I have no interest in any kind of a reboot of it, to be honest. That doesn't mean I might not give it a chance, but since I didn't watch the original, I'm not excited. Did you ever watch Wonder Years? It seems to me like that's the type of show you would watch.
I did watch Wonder Years. I loved it. I mean, God, Kevin and Winnie Cooper. Oh, I mean, like it's the original love story. Yeah, I did love Wonder Years. Here's what I'll say about this. And I feel this way about movies when they go, oh, it's Ghostbusters, but with ladies. There are so many stories that can be told. And I don't like the idea of, oh, we're going to regurgitate this thing that you already know, that you already have a relationship with, that you already have an emotional connection to, except we're going to just like switch it all out and now make it all girls, or we're going to make it all black, or we're going to make it all Asian. We're going to do, because to me that seems gimmicky. It seems, it doesn't seem authentic. And it also makes me go, well, hold on. To say that you can take this story about this white kid that lives in the suburbs and just make them a black family without, I mean, they're two totally different things. Like the black experience, obviously I am not black, so I'm not saying that I understand this or even know, but the idea that you can just substitute a black family for a white family and call it the Wonder Years, call it something else, make it its own thing, create something new. I'm not saying that this show shouldn't happen, but like, why do we have to take something and just say, okay, just kidding, now it's all a black family? Just create a new show that revolves around a black family. Similarly, Sterling K. Brown is in This Is Us, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
He's won several
Sterling
Emmys for that. Yeah.
When he accepted his, I believe it was his Emmy for his role, one of the things that he said was, that as a black actor, he has played, he's worked a lot, but this was the first character that was written specifically for the character to be a black man and to speak from the perspective of a black man, which is a different perspective than my perspective as a white woman, your perspective as a white man, Anne's perspective as an Asian woman. Like, that is a different perspective. And so I don't want to see The Wonder Years starring a Black family. I want to see a movie or a TV show in the similar way that, like, when I watch Blackish, I enjoy that show because it is a show about a family living the Black experience, living the experience of being a Black family in America and what that means. So unless they say, hey, we're going to take a Wonder Years concept, except we're going to explore it from the perspective of a suburban Black family and what their experience is like, I just go, you can't just swap them out and say that it's going to be Wonder Years except a Black family. It just doesn't work. And it just feels way too gimmicky for me,
See,
you know?
I disagree. I disagree because here's the thing. With all the remakes that get done, nobody disagrees about this. The vast, 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 vast majority of remakes that get done are just the same. They're just the same. And one of the big critiques that a lot of people give remakes is, well, if you don't have something new to say in it, why did you bother doing it? I kind of like the idea because it's rare that, like, of the reboots, it is rare that like a Ghostbusters one comes along where they decide, let's take Ghostbusters, but then let's throw in a total curveball. And we'll say, instead of male lead cast, we'll go female lead cast. If they did this for like 6 out of every 10 reboots, I would say that's tired and it's lazy. But the fact of the matter is 9 out of 10 reboots just do what the first one did anyway. I don't mind the idea. Remember, I don't care about Wonder Years. I don't give 2 squirts of piss about Wonder Years at all. But I mean, I don't mind once in a while if you're doing a reboot saying we're going to do this reboot, but we're going to do it with a fundamental twist. Now, whether that twist is a gender change or whether it's an ethnicity change, whether it's a country change, whether it's a whatever change, I like the idea of taking that, turning it on its head, make that familiar story be told from a different perspective. I don't mind them trying it. Like I said, it'd be different if 6 or 7 out of 10 reboots did it this way, but they don't. It's the vast minority of them. And so I don't mind. Take a crack at it. Because what's the worst case scenario? They make a bad show.
I mean, similarly, like, I'm really intrigued about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot, but as a drama. That's interesting to me. I'm like, oh, how's that going to work? I'm not saying that that it's not going to work. All I'm saying is, if they're going to do this as a reboot, it has to be taken into consideration that it's coming from a different, from the perspective of a Black family, and that it can't just be like, oh, we're going to take this similar storyline of this white suburban family in the 80s, and now we're going to make them a Black, suburban family living in 2022.
If they're going to turn it on its head, they have to show the repercussions of it being turned on its head. I completely agree.
Exactly.
Completely agree.
What is going to make it the Wonder Years? Is it simply going to be the fact that there's going to be focused on the kid and there's going to be a voiceover that's narrating it? Is that what makes it but that's not what made it the Wonder Years. I don't know. I just create the show, but the idea of saying, oh, we're going to reboot this thing, it feels inauthentic and gimmicky to me.
But that's assuming that all they're going to do is just do the exact same show just with a Black family. Like, if they can take a context like Wonder Years and say, we're going to put in a new context to this that changes our perception of it, like say with a Black family instead, and they will show how that Wonder Years context would play out differently if it was from a different experience, like say a Black family in America. Well, then I don't think that is gimmicky at that point, but it depends on how they do it, because if they do it in a lazy way where they just say, hey, it's exactly the same Wonder Years, exactly the same, except the family's white, but it's still going to play out the exact same, or except the family's Black and it's just going to play out the exact same way, then I agree that's absolutely gimmicky. It's complete. But if they allow that change to affect how it then unfolds and how it's told, and say, this is the Wonder Years, but it's from this perspective, and how would it be different if it was from this perspective, and they explore that, then I think you've got something with artistic merit. But it depends on which way they go.
I do agree with that. And at this point, not having more information about it, it really is just, speculation anyway. What I'd be really curious about is seeing who are the players involved. Who's creating the show? Who's writing it? Who's the showrunner? Who are the directors that they're bringing in? that's going to change. That would change it for me, is seeing who are the people behind this.
I agree. That's a good point. All right, next up, we've got Artificial PP writes, "Hey, John, have you heard of the foreign film Birdshot?" Nope. It's on Netflix. Netflix puts a lot of things out that they never promote. It's on Netflix. Saw it the other day, and I liked it very much. It's well shot and directed. It had pacing issues at the start, but the tension builds up. The imageries are so powerful. Try looking it up. Thanks. Well, thank you for putting that on the radar, Artificial. Yeah, again, no big surprise. Netflix puts out a movie and doesn't promote it at all. I have not heard of this film, so I don't know the first thing about it, but I appreciate you putting it on a radar, especially if you liked it. So if anybody else, if you guys have also seen this Birdshot, do you agree with Artificial? Is it something we should check out? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, next up, The Post Office writes, one of two. "Hey, John, I rewatched The Blacklist I've watched The Blacklist since it premiered in 2013. By the way, somebody on this show was on The Blacklist as well. Just I don't know who. It might have been me. Maybe it was me. Probably wasn't me.
I think it was you, John.
Yeah, maybe it was me. I've watched The Blacklist since it premiered in 2013, and I've loved it. But the season 8 finale has left me feeling like the entire show has been a waste of time. The Blacklist is like Pretty Little Liars for me. They both had an intriguing mystery, but the writers had no clue how to answer it. The worst part is now the writers have no narrative reasons to even offer answers. With both Megan and the creator leaving, I feel insulted. They dragged this out for 8 years and there's no closure." Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the basic principle of Blacklist is this. It's kind of like Supernatural in the way that it is a mystery and villain of the week show, but also with one giant overarching narrative that connects it all. This criminal underworld kingpin named Raymond Reddington comes out of hiding, surrenders himself to the FBI to become an informant of the FBI, and he's got something he calls a blacklist, like the worst of the worst people in the world. And every week he helps him track one down and capture them. But it has this overarching mystery. Who is Raymond Reddington? What is his connection to this Agent Keene, played by Megan, who just announced she's leaving the show? And they've gone through 8 years of this. And then, Aaron, I love this show. I've been watching this show.
Yes.
And you never even told me you were on the show. I had to be watching the show one day to find out you were even on it. So anyway, but they just had their season 8 season finale, and it was Megan's final episode. Megan is the lead female of the show. She's leaving.
Megan Boone.
It was terrible. It was a terrible finale. It really was. They kept teasing, "Oh, we're going to reveal all the secrets. We're going to reveal all the secrets." And they didn't. And then, just spoiler alert, but this was on TV over a week ago. And then they kill her. And she dies, and they didn't reveal anything. They didn't show how it all connected. Now, the reason why it doesn't bother me as much is because I honestly loved this show for the week-to-week aspect of it. I just loved... Raymond Reddington was my favorite character on it. I mean, so there was that. He was the main reason I watched. And it's that weekly blacklist aspect of it that I really loved. I wasn't completely invested in the overarching story, to be honest with you, but it was still very unsatisfying. So yeah, I don't know, Aaron, when you watch a show like that, does it take away when a show doesn't end well? And let's face it, even a lot of the best shows don't end well. Like, look at Seinfeld, one of the greatest series of all time.
Seinfeld,
had a terrible finale.
The Sopranos, everybody hated the ending.
A lot of people did not like the ending. But when you are watching a show and it ends poorly, does it taint your overall feeling about the show as a whole? Because I know for some people it does. How does that affect you?
Said taint. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say,
sorry,
I knew. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I regretted it.
Yeah, you should have. I do. It's sort of like there's an anticlimactical moment where there is a buildup of going, wow, I've invested so much time in this. I've invested all of my energy. I love these characters. I feel like I know them. They've been in my home every week for the last 8 years. We have a relationship. And if we're going to say goodbye, it has to be in this most beautiful way. And all my questions have to be answered. And what we don't know is that a lot of times the writers are just like, yeah, I already got another gig, so I'm just gonna like hand in my final, draft of this version, and somebody else can figure it out. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't work in a writer's room, so please, writers, don't send me hate mail. But I think that the relationship that we have as viewers is very different from the relationship that maybe the creatives have, where, they're falling in love with these projects as well. And maybe there's, maybe they're ending the show before they want to. And so they have their own level of distaste and it ends for them before it ends for us. Yeah. I mean, I like to, I like to also remember that, just because something ends does not mean that the time that we invested in it wasn't valuable, that the episodes that we loved didn't have merit. Just because maybe the last episode didn't answer all the questions. I mean, you said it yourself. You weren't watching the show because you were anticipating getting all of your questions answered. You were watching the show because you loved each episode, finding out who the new person on the blacklist was and how they were going to go after that character, and how they figured it out each episode. The ending of the show doesn't change your passion for each individual episode that you watch. That still exists. And it's hard sometimes to remember that in the moment. So I guarantee you, like right now, how you're feeling about the end of the blacklist, I bet if a year from now I said, hey, remember that show you used to love, The Blacklist? You'd be like, oh, yeah, I love that show. And it would be more about your memories of all of the episodes over the past 8 seasons versus this one particular episode that, didn't close out the way that you would have hoped.
Yeah, actually, if you look at all 3 of my top 3 all-time favorite shows, number 1, Battlestar Galactica, 2 and 3 in no particular order, Spartacus and Sons of Anarchy. I am not a particular fan of the final episode of any of those shows, to be honest with you. I mean, Sons of Anarchy one worked, but it wasn't like that big send-off I wanted for Sons of Anarchy. I like what happened, but whatever. I wasn't a big fan of the ending of Spartacus. I wasn't a big fan of the final episode of Battlestar Galactica, but it doesn't change that those are my 3 all-time favorite shows. And you also happen to be in one of them.
I wasn't a fan of the last episode of Battlestar Galactica either. It felt a little like preachy to me, but that's the thing. It did. When I think about Battlestar Galactica, all I do is go, oh my God, I love that show. What an amazing show.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the final episode until you just brought it up. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't really a fan of the ending either. As soon as you say Battlestar Galactica, I go, oh my God, what an amazing show.
Yeah.
Brilliant writing, brilliant actors.
And Tom likes it too.
Tom is, yeah, he
Tom likes it
the
a lot.
entire season.
And we played a little Battlestar Galactica game. All right, Aaron, I know we kept you overtime. Thank you so much for being here. Although we missed Joey Bishop today. Next time you got to bring in Joey Bishop.
Joey's there too. Like, bitch, I am tired. And if I don't have to get in the car and drive to Riverside, I am staying at home in bed. She's still in bed.
Oh, well, I wish I was still in bed. Anyway, Aaron, thanks a lot for being here. Now that we got you set up at home, maybe we can even see you a little bit more often, which would be really good to have. Anyway, in the meantime, where can people follow you and all your adventures online?
Well, right now, the only place to find me, other than in bed with Joey Bishop, is on Instagram. I am no longer on Twitter or Facebook, so don't go searching there. Don't worry, I did not block you. I just blocked myself. I'm on Instagram at Aaron L. Cummings, and I would love for you to come and join me and comment. And who knows, maybe if you are working at the Aloft Hotel in downtown Detroit, like my new friend Jonathan, maybe you'll see me there too.
And a happy Canada Day to you, Aaron. I hope you have a good one, because yesterday is the holiday.
Happy Canada Day. Happy anniversary to you. And since I'm not going to be here tomorrow, happy 5-year anniversary to my love, Tom Degnan. July 2nd, we are celebrating 5 years of marital bliss.
I didn't realize tomorrow was your guys' anniversary. Oh, I would have sent something over. Probably
you can still send something over. We accept gifts anytime.
It would probably just be for Joey. But yeah, I would send something over anyway. No, say hi to Tom for me, and we will talk to you again next week. Have a good one, Aaron.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Erin Cummings sans Joey Bishop this time, and it's always good to have her here. But listen, guys, we still have some time, so let's keep on going through your questions here, shall we? Next up, we've got Eric Finden, who writes, this weekend, the Seattle area had triple-digit temperatures. I heard about this. With very limited AC in my house, I took advantage of AMC A-List and Regal Unlimited and stayed at the movies all weekend. I saw F9 twice, Lat Matt, Peter Rabbit, Rita Moreno, and Meet the Blacks too. Yeah, listen, I heard about this. I didn't know this. I saw a statistic that said only 47% of homes in the Seattle area actually have air. Only actually have air conditioning. I guess maybe you don't need it all that often up there. And then these record temperatures hit up there, and a lot of people are really drudging through it. And it's awful to hear that. So hang tight in there, you guys. And yeah, do like Eric did. If you're in a place that doesn't have air conditioning, get out to the mall, go see a couple of movies while the sun is up. Do whatever you need to do to stay cool, man. Eric, that's a great use of your movie passes, man. All right, next up. Louis Terrazas writes, John and Rob. Rob's not here today, obviously. I told y'all again, Black Widow is pretty bad. No, you're wrong about that. Actually, Black Widow's pretty damn good. Especially the third act and the character Taskmaster not being executed well. Yeah, I agree about that. I was not a fan of the Taskmaster character. I don't think they did a good job with Taskmaster. Taskmaster to me is the big letdown of the film, and an otherwise quite a good movie. But yeah, Taskmaster didn't work for me. The CGI is also pretty laughable in certain scenes. I don't agree with that. I first called this one Disney Plus indeed. 1 out of 4 stars. I disagree. I actually thought the movie's pretty solid. I particularly, one of the things was it really surprised me because I thought that the family stuff, and I mentioned this in my review, I thought the family stuff, with the dad and the mom and sitting around, I thought the family stuff would be kind of painful to watch and cringy, but I loved every second of the family stuff. David Harbour as Red Guardian, I could totally watch a solo Red Guardian movie. I totally can. The Taskmaster stuff, I completely agree. That was a waste of a character. It was a total waste of a character, unfortunately. But overall, I thought it was great. Now, the last I checked, too, most people, it was sitting at about an 82% the last I checked, which is great. Let me bring it up here. Oh, it's gone up. Okay. So it's gone up to 84% currently, with 135 reviews. It said, yeah, it's a good, solid movie. Again, but to me, it's not top shelf Marvel, right? It's not Winter Soldier. It's not the original Thor. It's not Infinity War. It's not top shelf. It's down in the middling, which is a very good place to be Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. I'd put it in league with those ones, but yeah, it's actually a pretty solid movie. Anyway, next up, we go to, where are we at? That was Louis. Next up, we have, okay, Post Office. Was there oh, yeah. So already did Louis, that part too. Brandon Visconti writes, hey, man, what do you think is the worst Batman live action movie? Oh, come on. We all know the answer to that. We all know the answer to that. I would have to say Batman and Robin. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but didn't really like him as Mr. Freeze. Thanks. Why don't you cool off? Yeah, no, look, is there anybody that doesn't agree with you on that, Brandon? Is there anybody that doesn't agree with you? I think it's pretty safe to say we all agree about that. Yes, sir, it does. Anyway, Jesus is King writes, hey, John and friends, did you enjoy The Good Liar starring Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren? I did. As much as I did, very underrated movie. No, it's good. And Bill Condon directed it, right? Bill Condon, who's done a lot of very, very high profile films, Oscar-winning films, all that kind of stuff. He did a terrific job directing it. I knew when they started promoting The Good Liar, I knew it wasn't going to blow up the box office. I mean, it's not the kind of movie that's going to, get everybody out to the movies. But as soon as I saw, okay, Bill Condon directing Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren? Oh, hell yes. I was all over that, and I thought the movie was really good. Anyway, thanks for putting that in, man. Next up, RM writes, hi, Rob, who's not here today, and John. I listened to the soundtrack of Hamilton for over a year because tickets were not available. The soundtrack alone was a top seller. A feature film version of Hamilton will make $1 billion. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day on the show, you know, because somebody wrote in and asked a really good question. They said, do you think the financial failure of In the Heights, which is a great movie, by the way, but was not marketed well. I had no interest in seeing it until Anne dragged me to see it. And then I loved it. It's great, but it flopped. It totally flopped. So the question was, with In the Heights failing, do you think that'll hurt the chances for a Hamilton feature film ever being made? And my point was this. There's two things you got to keep in mind. Number one, Lin-Manuel Miranda already said he's got major reservations about trying to do Hamilton as a major motion picture. So that's working against it right now. But other than that, I don't think the flopping of In the Heights would at all hurt the chances of a Hamilton, because it's a completely different set of circumstances. In the Heights was not the dominant pop culture force in the world. Hamilton is. I mean, for years, all people talked about was Hamilton. Hamilton, 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 Hamilton. I started to get annoyed with it until Anne dragged me to go see it at the Pantages in Los Angeles. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. I understand why everybody's talking about Hamilton. Yeah, da 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 da, yeah, da 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 da, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm like, yep, I'm totally on board. I'm totally on board. This damn show is so fucking good. I'm not kidding. If you guys haven't seen Hamilton, the hype is real. But you bring up a great point about the soundtrack too. Like, all the songs on the soundtrack are like totally memorable. They're like, you could just listen to the songs and tap your feet to them. You know, whether it's Not Throwing Away My Shot or, you know, In the Greatest City in the World, or whether you're talking about I'll kill all your friends and family to remind you of my love. I mean, all the songs are catchy. You remember them all. And Hamilton became a part of the entire global pop cultural zeitgeist. In the Heights was none of those things. Was none of those things. And so I am with you, RM. If they make a Hamilton live action movie, I don't like using the word guarantee, but I'll use it today. I guarantee that thing makes $1 billion. There's no doubt, not the slightest doubt, that that feature film makes $1 billion. We may never find out because Lin-Manuel doesn't seem to have a lot of interest in doing that, but maybe after the flopping of In the Heights, maybe he'll think, you know, wouldn't it be cool to make $1 billion movie? But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. Next up, we've got Jack Wallace, who writes, I saw F9 with my son, and when Cena showed up, some guy yelled, "Oh, brother." My son thought it was hysterical. The next time Cena came on, my son yelled, "Oh, brother." Next Cena appearance, a few others joined in, and by the end, the whole theater was yelling, "Oh, brother." Man, it's always fun when an entire theater gets in on something. I know some of you guys have heard me tell this story, but one of my favorite experiences, no, my absolute favorite experience in a movie theater of somebody yelling something out, which, by the way, under normal circumstances, hey, people in a movie theater, I know you think you're funny. Nobody else does. Shut up. But this one time, me and a bunch of other people who worked at the visual effects and CGI company I worked at, we all went to go see Battlefield Earth, one of the worst motion pictures of all time. And we all went to go see it because a colleague of ours, a friend of ours, was one of the VFX artists on the movie. So we went to go see it. And of course, we were interested because it's a big sci-fi epic and John Travolta was still hot at the time. And it's truly one of the most hideous, awful movies in the history of the medium. I call it one of the top 3 worst films of all time. And I remember sitting in the theater and it runs through and nobody made a sound. Now, you know, when a movie ends, people start shuffling in the theater. They start, you know, picking up their garbage and grabbing their coats or whatever, and they start to get up and move. The credits start to roll in Battlefield Earth, and nobody moved. It was almost like we were all deer caught in headlights. It's like, and so about, I know 5 seconds doesn't sound like a lot of time, but think about this. You're in a theater and literally credits start to roll and a full 5 seconds pass. 1 steamboat, 2 steamboat, and nobody's moved in the theaters. And all of a sudden, some guy near the front of the theater yells out, "What the hell was that?" And the whole theater erupted in laughter. Just erupted in laughter. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. And indeed, because he spoke, he gave voice to what we were all thinking. What the hell was that? Anyway. All right, next up. Where are we at here? We're at RIP Kim's Convenience, who writes, "Thank you for the great pro and con breakdown of Black Widow." Thanks, I appreciate that, man. I'm being a bit reductive here, but if someone asked you if it was a good movie or not, what would you say? Well, dude, if you watched my breakdown, I said pretty clearly, this is it's a solid movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Again, I'm not saying it's the most utter fantastic greatest thing of all time, like Man of Steel or Infinity War or something, but it's really good. It's entertaining. It's solid. Not one of the best, but still a really, really solid one. I recommend it. I think it's a good movie. Yes. All right, next up. Ishmael writes, "Hey, John. I know your thoughts about a score system like 1 out of 10, but would you be able to create a 1 to 10 scale that we can know what each number represents for you?" No, absolutely not. I say this because a score lets us know what an early movie/show represents without a spoiler. It doesn't. That's the thing. So most of you guys know this, but you'll notice in my reviews, I do not give numerical scores in my thing. I used to a long time ago, but what the problem is, we live in an idiot age where everything is a 10 out of 10 or everything is a 0 out of 10. You know, if somebody likes a movie, like I hear these idiot kids all the time. Somebody likes a movie. "Oh, it's 10 out of 10. It's 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. If somebody slightly doesn't like something, 0, that movie's 0, 0 out of 10. It's like, okay, come on. So what would happen is I would do like a review and then I'd give it a score. Say, like, I watched a review and I do a review and I'm like, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was very solid. I thought it did a lot of things well, did a couple of things not so great. Solid movie, 7 out of 10, right? Because to me, that's 3 numbers off away from perfect. 7 out of 10. To me, solid movie. And inevitably, 7 out of 10, why'd you hate it? Why'd you hate it, John? What are you smoking? I said it's a really solid movie. It's really enjoyable. Did a lot of things right. 7 out of 10. Well, 7 means you hate it. So what eventually became clear to me was, what is the point of putting out a numerical system if everybody has a different interpretation of what that numerical system means? And also what I got totally tired of, because this would happen. You may think I'm lying. I ain't. I do a review and I give a movie an 8. Like, that's really I thought a movie was great if I give it an 8. Like, that's great. Once you get into 9s, you're talking Oscar contenders. And 10s, I think I've only given out 8 or 9 perfect 10s in my entire career of reviewing movies. So I think people throw around 10s way too easy, or 5 out of 5s are perfect. I think people throw those around like they're candy on Halloween. I am very, very selective about what I'll give a 10 out of 10 to. So 8 means I think it's fantastic. 9 means it should automatically be Oscar consideration. 10 is a very, very rare company for me. But I would put out a review and I'd say, man, I love this movie, blah, 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 8 out of 10. And then I would get these emails from people. You're going to think I'm joking. I'm not. This is dead true. I would get these emails and these comments from people saying, "John, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. That movie's a 9. And I would, wait a minute. Time out here for a second. Your score and mine are literally 1 off from each other. 1 off from each other. I gave it an 8. You gave it a 9. That's pretty damn close. But I don't know anything and I'm a total idiot because I was 1 number off from you. Anyway, and it created all these stupid, pointless discussions that had nothing to do with anything. And then I finally just said, you know what? Fuck it. No more scores. I'm just going to say what I think about a movie so nobody can play around with it. And people still do. Like you just saw somebody write in a few minutes ago where I gave a full review of it and they still had to ask me, but would you say it's a good movie? I'm like, dude, I've said multiple times yes, but yeah, that's why I don't do a score system. And even if I laid out on a chart, here's what I mean by 1 to 10, it wouldn't mean anything. People would still look up my review, see me give a score, and they wouldn't know what it means. And they're going to ascribe their own meaning to it. You know, anything less than a 10 to some people means it's terrible. And so there's just no point. There's no point. I'm not saying other reviewers shouldn't do it. If they want to do it, that's great. No problem with that. But for me, there's just no point in giving a movie a score if that score means something different to everybody who sees it. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't give a score to anything. All right, next up. Where are we at here? We're at K Major, who writes, "Hey, John, I was laughing to myself when you were describing your experience with Bad Batch. I watched the first 2 episodes and was like, I smell a curve coming. Then lo and behold, the 3rd episode, and I said, John definitely checked out of this show. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'm still watching. Honestly, Cad Bane has been a small highlight, and I think that terrible when he's not even the main character. I already know how you feel about Bad Batch, so no need to reopen that wound. And listen, by the way, let me say, I don't hate Bad Batch. I don't. Here's the thing. When they introduced the Bad Batch in the first few episodes of the season 7 of Clone Wars, I hated that. I thought that was stupid. It was utterly stupid. So when they were coming out with the Bad Batch show, I was very, very cynical of it. But then they sent me the first couple of episodes in advance, and I watched the first episode, and the first episode's almost like an hour long. And so I watched the first episode, and listen, I'll be honest with you, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, you know what? This isn't bad, because I was expecting the worst. And that's why you got to leave your expectations at the door. Because I watched, I'm like, you know what? That was pretty good. That was pretty good. But then I watched episode 2, and then I watched episode 3, and I'm like, I see where this is going. And it's, so I tapped out. So I only watched the first 3 episodes. I'm not interested in the rest of it. But I'm not sitting here saying I hated the first 3 episodes. No, I didn't hate it. It's just that I kind of liked the first episode, and then the last 2 episodes, the second 2 episodes I watched were just like, this doesn't feel good. So I kind of just tapped out, but I didn't hate it. All right, next up. K Major also writes, John, to all the people who complain about how aliens speak English in movies, I roll my eyes at y'all, because we will be the same folks complaining about having to read subtitles. Just stop it, people. I watch a ton of anime and would be annoyed here. So this has come up a lot, especially with Loki. It's like, how come they speak English? Or how come they are using like an Earth kind of desk, right? And what Rob and I have been talking about recently is because you go back through the history of Hollywood. Whenever they do aliens, they normally look very human. If they don't completely look human, they look mostly human. Whenever they speak languages, they'll just speak English. Even when somebody travels to Russia, everybody's speaking English. Hell, even look at Hunt for Red October. They speak Russian for the first minute or so, and then they transition into them speaking English, even though it was just for our benefit. But still, and I say, that's just usually for a connection to the audience. But you're right. The same people who complain, why are they speaking English? If they weren't speaking English, they'd be complaining, I don't like reading subtitles. You're right. I hear a lot of that all the time. And that's actually an unfortunately accurate observation, K Major. All right, next up, we've got Richard Coots, who writes, 1 of 2. Hi, John and Rob. Rob's not here. Hope you're both doing well. Have you heard the Tom Welling revealed via Cameo that he and Michael Rosenbaum, so Tom Welling played Clark in Smallville. Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor in Smallville, and hasn't really done much since. Anyway, Michael Rosenbaum are developing a Smallville animated sequel series with most of the original cast. I think animation is the way to go for a revival of the series. Plus, Tom doesn't want to have to put on those tights he didn't want to wear. What do you guys think about this? I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's a good idea. Now, I like Smallville very much. I really like Tom Welling in it. I really liked Michael Rosenbaum in it. And, of course, just a couple of years ago, Tom Welling came in to be the main villain of the season for an entire season of Lucifer, and he was great in it. Like, he wasn't just good. It's like, oh yeah, it's the guy from Smallville. Tom Welling was great in Lucifer. I loved him in it. And I'm very interested in seeing both of these guys doing more stuff, particularly Rosenbaum, who we really haven't seen do much. Although Rosenbaum's got a really good podcast going right now. Anyway, I don't think the idea of doing this thing for an anime, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not saying it can't work. Maybe it can, but yeah, I don't feel particularly good about it right now. I don't know why. All right, guys, listen, we're at 12 noon. We've gone 2 hours, but you know what? We're going a little bit longer today. Let's go like 15 minutes overtime. Do you guys mind? Do I have your permission to run a little bit long today? Because I want to get through a few more of the questions here. So with your permission, we will run a little bit long today. All right, next up. That was Richard. Next up, we've got Anton Riley, who writes, I got to ask, is Fast 9 the worst movie you've seen in theaters this year? Yes. Personally, I haven't seen it since I swore off the Fast franchise after 8. I don't think you've lambasted a theater release more than Fast 9 this year so far. I mean, yeah, and it's partially, listen, to be fair, that's partially because it also tremendously disappointed me, because I am a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, and I like 8. I know you hated it, obviously, but I liked 8. This was just terrible. It was just awful. So yes, I would say, from my own perspective, and only from my own perspective, Fast 9 is the worst movie of the year so far. All right, next up. Some dude writes, Kevin Feige said that Black Widow would change how we see Natasha's character in Avengers 3 and 4. Do you think that's the case? No, I don't. I remember when Feige said that ages ago. That was a long time ago. But I remember he said that. He said, the Black Widow movie is going to fundamentally change how we see Natasha's character in Infinity War and Endgame. And I see what he's talking about. Like, after watching Black Widow, I see what he's talking about. But I also think he's completely wrong. I don't think Black Widow in any way alters the way we see Natasha in Infinity War or Endgame. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The movie's solid. The movie's really, it's an entertaining, good movie. But yeah, you're right. He did say that, and I don't agree with him at all. I'm not saying he's lying, because I could see why he said it. I just don't agree. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. All right, next up. Otto writes, on the subject of bad theater experiences, I've had the roof of the theater. What? Speaking of bad theater experiences, I've had the roof of the theater collapse twice from heavy rain during a bad storm. First time was at the end of Jurassic World 1, one row behind us. Second was the end of Transformers 4 in front of the screen. 0 injured. Dude, I can't imagine. First of all, Otto, stay away from me, because I can't even imagine being in a theater where the roof collapses once. You've had it happen twice. So no offense, my film loving brother, but you and I are never going to a movie together. I'm just throwing that out there, because you appear to be cursed, my friend. I would search around your house for a little hex bag, see if some witch has put a hex on your house or something. But oh my God, twice? That is crazy. Anyway, I'm glad no one was injured. Thanks for sharing that, man. Next up, Peter Cunnington says, John, are you a fan of the show Curb Your Enthusiasm? I am. I think it's pretty much one of the funniest shows on TV. They're now filming another season. Every time they do a new season, they get more and more outrageous, and I know this is going to be great. Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of like every episode of Curb, and I'm not 100% sure I've seen every single episode. But yeah, man, listen, whenever I pop on and I'm around and pop on an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David is just a genius. It's so funny. And you've got to be tuned into his sort of humor. But if you do tune into his style of humor, it's a damn funny show. And he is it's not for everybody. G8 in the live chat just say, yeah, it's not for everyone. I agree. It's not a show that's for everyone. But if you are tuned into that comedic stylings, you're going to love it. So I enjoy it a lot. Thanks for that, Peter. All right, next up. Ryan Lohner writes, I just watched the Karen trailer. That's unfortunate. And I'm honestly not 100% sure this isn't a comedy. I pretty much am. Still, nice to see such a unique actress as Taryn Manning, Pensatucky in Orange is the New Black, and Rita Cherry in Sons of Anarchy, getting more work. Yeah, man, listen, we've talked about it a couple of days in a row now. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for that movie, that horror movie, Karen. It is the new poster child for just because what you want your movie to talk about is an important topic doesn't mean your movie is a good movie just because you're talking about an important topic. You still got to make a good movie. It is one of the worst trailers I've seen in years. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I admire with what it is they're trying to go for, but they failed. It's an awful, one of the worst trailers I've ever seen in my life. Anyway. Okay, Dan S. writes, interesting that the plot of In the Heights is near identical to Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. I don't agree with that. I think there are some similarities, but I don't think it is at all in any way, shape, or form near identical. I think they're very, very different movies. But at any rate, Dying Block in New York, themes on minority experience in the U.S., massive heat wave that indirectly causes issues, ensemble cast, etc. Both great movies. Yeah, like I said, listen, I love Do the Right Thing. I love that movie. But yeah, I recognize there are similarities, but in a very foundational DNA kind of way, I think they are fundamentally different films. But that's just my take on it, Dan. Thanks for sharing yours. Appreciate that. All right, next up, we got Cam Smith, who writes, hey, John, I just got done rewatching the Shia LaBeouf Transformers movies, and I just got to say how underrated Transformers Dark of the Moon was. I remember going to watch it with my friends when I was 11 years old and just absolutely loving it with the Chicago battle and Sentinel Prime as the villain. Your brief thoughts on Transformers 3. Well, listen, you're not alone, Cam. John Schnepp hated the Transformers movies, but he actually kind of liked Transformers 3. Maybe it's because he lived in Chicago and loved seeing Chicago being blown up and all that kind of stuff. And you know who else? Robert Meyer Burnett doesn't hate Transformers 3 either. He's actually got some appreciation for Transformers 3. So you are absolutely not alone in that. I, however, am not one of your compatriots in that. I hated Transformers 3. I thought it was complete garbage. Absolute garbage. Which is what I feel about all the Transformers movies after the first Transformers, before Bumblebee. First Transformers, Bumblebee, great. Everything in between, complete, utter shite. Like, just garbage. But, again, Cam, you've got John Schnepp agreed with you, and Robert Meyer Burnett, I don't think, he doesn't love the movie, but he appreciated it too, and I'm sure there are many others, so you are not alone, my friend. All right, next up, we got Caleb, and Caleb writes, Tarantino said that his movies exist in a shared universe, but some exist as movies within that universe. So what do you think the chance is that in his 10th film, we'll see characters from two of his earlier movies interact? Maybe the Vega Bros, Vic and Vincent. That would be problematic. I mean, a lot of people for many, 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 many years have fascinated or theorized or fantasized about the idea of having the Vega brothers together, but you would have to do so much to make that happen now that I think it would just be kind of lame. Not to mention, death. But also you'd have to de-age everybody and you'd have to set the time at a certain time. I just think it all becomes very, very limiting. I don't think Tarantino's going to do that for his 10th film. Now, first of all, let me say this. No matter what Tarantino says, I completely believe there is going to be an 11th Tarantino film and a 12th and a 13th. But right now he says 10 is going to be his final. And I believe he believes that. I don't think he's going to stick to it, but I believe he believes that. As such, I think he's going to do what he's always done. He's going to make another big new original movie. That's just what he does. And I agree with you. I would love to see a crossover of certain characters that meet and interact. That'd be interesting, but it's not what makes Tarantino movies great. Tarantino writes fresh, original things every time out of the gate. And I think he's going to stick to that for what he thinks is going to be his final film. But come on, we all know it's not going to be his final film. He's going to do another one after that. All right, next up, and the final one we'll do today, guys, comes to us from Baymax, who writes, "Hey, John, did you notice that the guy that plays Storm Shadow in Snake Eyes is the same actor that plays Assam in Warrior on HBO? Oh, dude, that was one of my... That's absolutely. Yes, completely. That's what completely got my attention on the Storm Shadow, or on the Snake Eyes trailer, was the same guy, Assam, who of course is also in, he's also in Mortal Kombat, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat. At any rate. Oh, no. Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat is the other guy in Warrior. At any rate, lots of stuff there. But yes, very, very much noticed that that was there. Okay, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. There are still some more questions to come. We are going to be doing a companion video today. Listen, guys, I said I was going to do a companion video yesterday, but after I got done the Loki spoiler discussion, I had done 4.5 hours of live streaming and my voice was gone, so I couldn't. But I will be doing a companion video later today. So there are just only a few questions left. We'll get through all the remaining questions in that companion video a little bit later. So if you sent one in and you hadn't seen it answered yet, hang tight. It'll probably get to that in the companion video later. And also another part 2 video we have coming later today is the second part of that Loki spoiler discussion. So keep your guys' eyes open for both of those videos a little bit later today. All right, guys. That will do it for me for today. Thanks a lot for being here. Don't forget, Robert Meyer Burnett will be joining me again tomorrow for the next episode of the John Campea Show. Hope to see you guys there. So guys, for now, that'll do it. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.